My advice to female leaders, or to females in the workplace in general, is firstly to bear in mind that sexism is real, and a lot of people don't even understand the ways in which they're being sexist. So you do have the egregious examples, where a very junior person is taken advantage of by a very senior person, and it's clearly wrong. But what can sometimes be more frustrating and more damaging, particularly as you move up your career path, is when you don't get that promotion and it's not really clear why you haven't got that promotion, or the jobs that you're getting assigned are challenging but they're not really pushing you, or you find yourself in a team situation and you know that you're always kind of coming up with the solutions but you're not being rewarded for that. And that's the type of sexism where if you speak up, you even feel like, well, I'm not really sure what's going on here. I'm not really sure whether this is sexism or not. But what underlies this is the fact that we're all brought up, men and women, in every culture in the world, really, with certain stereotypes. And it's really hard to break out of those stereotypes. And what you find in all the studies that have been done on this, on the one hand, for example, if you look at startups, they found that if a startup has a woman as one of the founders, it's 60% more likely to be successful. Now, I don't know if they looked at all the correlations on that or anything, but clearly having a woman involved is enormously important. Similarly, we all accept now that having women on the board or having diversity on the board actually adds to your bottom line. And when I was at Goldman, they actually started tying the compensation that partners got to the level of diversity in their teams. And that's because there is actually a monetary value to the company. So on the one hand, we know that there's value in this, and on the other hand, you don't see women getting to the top. And I think a lot of the reason women don't get to the top is this sort of subliminal sexism that's hard to put your finger on, but that leads to a lot of women kind of being stuck midway through their careers. And some of it has to do with women going and having babies and things like that, but it's more than that. So my advice to women is, number one, be aware that this is a real thing. It's not just in your head. It's actually a real thing. Statistically, women entrepreneurs get less funding. Women are viewed as being less competent than men, all things being equal. These are still factors which are part of our reality. So I think accept it that that is part of the reality, and then figure out how to overcome it. And the only foolproof way of overcoming it is to work harder and to be present, to work harder, and to deliver on a very consistent basis, and to be strategic. It is not going to be the case that as a woman you're going to be handed a leadership role. That's highly unlikely to happen. It's more likely that you're going to have to come up with an idea that no one has come up with before, that you're going to have to work harder to impress, that you're going to have to lead your team through a crisis and therefore emerge as the leader of that team. And unfortunately, until there are enough women at the top, it's not going to be possible for women to get to the top except by, to a greater or lesser extent, being extraordinary. And so the message is really, don't expect to be patted on the back or to be rewarded unless you've done something that really makes you stand out. So you've got to work really hard. And I think that's an important message because, too often, in today's society, people think, okay, the battle's been won. Now we're going, now we have laws, so everything's going to be equal. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way in terms of race, and it doesn't work that way in terms of sex. The battle hasn't been won, which means you still have to outperform in order to get what you're entitled to.